Let me say a few words about where we stand in the committee. I don't think there's anyone else who's not been recognized. At this point, every senator in attendance has had the opportunity to speak. We have a problem, and it could have happened to any one of us. One of our colleagues, Senator Padilla, got on the overnight special out of Los Angeles last night, took off, and a medical emergency on the airplane forced them back to Los Angeles. And so there he was, stranded and unable to return until this morning. It's my understanding that he's going to be on a flight that will return this afternoon. And so he will have a chance to assemble with his presence. This really calls on all of us, and in terms of the Senate and its traditions. There was a time when pairing for a vote was common, where someone with two senators with opposite positions on a vote would agree that neither one of them was going to vote so that the outcome would not be affected. Those days are rare. There's been one exception, and I point to Senator Coons of Delaware, who made an accommodation to the late Senator Johnny Isakson in that circumstance. We still remember it, Chris. It was a magnanimous gesture on your part. But we're in a little different position because this is not a run-of-the-mill ordinary vote. This is an important one that everyone here has thought through very seriously, and we should take very seriously. So it is my intention to recess subject to the call of the chair. I believe that Senator Padilla will be back in time this afternoon for us to consider this nomination and a record vote, and the 6 other nominees who are pending before the committee. I will keep you posted through your staff as to the progress that he's making in his return. He thought he'd done everything right. He put his whole family on the plane last night, and they all were brought back to Los Angeles. I know it troubles him, it pains him not to be here. So that is the circumstance. And if nothing further comes before the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lee.
I just wanted to respond very, very briefly to a conversation we had about pre-sentence reports a moment ago. I want to be very clear. Not one of us has suggested that any PSR should be released to the public. What we have said is that she made them relevant. She opened the door to them by saying that it was necessary to understand how she imposed sentences in those cases. That it would be apparent if we could see everything, including the pre-sentence report. So she opened the door to that, making them relevant. Not one of us has suggested that those ought to be publicly disclosed. Having handled those at previous stages of my career, I know they are sensitive. I also know that we, as a committee, have handled documents that are sensitive before. We could review them in a SCIF, treat them as classified, just as we have on countless occasions, treated other sensitive documents that way. To the extent that the circumstances require it, we could even redact out victim names and replace them with John Doe 1, 2, and 3 or Jane Doe 1, 2, and 3 references. There's no reason why we couldn't review those. And it's, in any event, it's not fair. It's not a correct characterization to suggest that the decision is whether to make them public or leave them private. We're not arguing for that. We never have.
Senator, that issue has been debated, and I'm glad to give you your point of view to express. But I just want to tell you, not on my watch. Not on my watch. Some mother protecting that child is not going to understand redaction and the oath to keep things secret in the United States Senate. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be the first senator to open up that door. I think too much of the process and the promise of confidentiality to do it, nor do I think it's necessary to judge this judicial nominee. So if there's nothing further, I'd ask that the committee stand in recess subject to the call of the chair.